welcome to the Intuitively Wild podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Levine. Living intuitively wild is about coming back home to ourselves. Here, we talk about how to live connected to ourselves, others, and nature, and make a commitment to radical authenticity, vulnerability, and acceptance. On this podcast, we delve into a wide range of topics that span the human experience. We peel back the layers and talk about the things that are often not talked about. This is a space for us all to walk and wander this path of life together. Let's dig into our roots and go deep. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. And welcome to our reflections and intention setting episode of the month. And welcome to July. Let me paint the scene first and foremost. If you are watching this on YouTube, you get the full look. But it is very early in the morning, earlier than I usually record or even go on technology. It is kind of cloudy and rainy out after a couple of brutal sunshiny days. And I just woke up this morning and needed to record this podcast. I had it on my calendar to do it today regardless, but I was going to do it later in the afternoon. But I just have so much on my heart and mind and wanted to record before listening or taking in anything else today. So this is my first time talking today. This is my first time looking at a screen. You can see my puffy just woke up face, although I did walk Theo, so you can also see my crazy humidity hair. And yesterday I held the summer solstice and Cancer new moon ceremony with my friend Hollis, and I was driving home last night just processing it all in silence and went to bed later than I usually do, and I just feel ready to share. Okay, where to even begin? June was a crazy month. I mean, obviously I'm recording this a little bit in advance, so it is still June, but we're at the very, very tail end of June. And when people were saying, summertime is really when things are going to pick up, and that's when the pace of the year always picks up, but this year in particular, summer is going to be a very heightened period of time, and I felt that within my own being intuitively. So I believed it, and I knew it, I felt it, but it's definitely been the truth. The year started off so slow, so much hazy, foggy uncertainty, muddy waters, kind of moving through muck and trying to move forward trying to force a pace that the world said no. And then slowly things have started to pick up, and then June, it really feels like I've just been on a roller coaster. I feel like my brain has been bouncing from one thing to the next, just constantly thinking and processing and doing and planning and preparing, and there's so much for me to be thinking about right now that at times it has felt overwhelming. And so really taking extra time in stillness and silence to let everything process and let everything integrate has been more important than ever. And so it's always so interesting to me how things that I think about and start to do before I even know why I'm doing them land a couple weeks, days, months, years later. I'm like, oh, wow, it's a good thing I started doing this. Or, oh, wow, that thing I was thinking about, it's true. And I've noticed it so much recently how I've found myself throughout my whole life saying things and doing things and not really knowing why or how I know that. But I know it's true. I'm speaking with integrity and confidence, and I'm acting from this true core-centered place. But I'm like, wow, I didn't even know I knew that, or I didn't even know I wanted that. Things I hear myself saying I'm wanting, I didn't even know I wanted that. And then once I say it, I know it's true. and or it comes into being in fruition down the line, and I'm like, wow, it was true. And I think that just speaks so much to this passenger consciousness theory, idea, concept in human design, which I've talked about before, being that we're not meant to think our way through life. We're meant to use our being, our energy, our human design to guide us through life, to let our energy and let that inner compass take us through life, and trust that that is our path. And our brain is just for the everyday mundane tasks, but not for actually the big decision making. That's our energy. That's our inner knowing. And the more I lean into that, the more I see how that is so true for me. And it's naturally what I do, actually. And naturally how I've made the biggest and most impactful decisions for myself without even realizing. And it's when I get in my own way, especially with like small day-to-day things, like should I work at this coffee shop or should I do this today, that I get in my head and really overwhelm myself. And so I'm learning how to follow that inner guidance throughout my whole trajectory. But let's back up a bit. Clearly, this podcast is just going to kind of be stream of consciousness, me going all over the place. But like I said, June was a crazy month. The biggest thing being I finally, officially, publicly announced the opening of my physical in real life space in upstate New York. And if you've been following along on the journey on the podcast, you know I already shared it here a couple of months ago. And that, again, pinpoints the fact that I thought things would maybe move faster, but they've been moving at the perfect pace, honestly. And I still don't know if the timing is going to align. Right now, the goal opening date is August 23rd, that weekend. But I'm still trying to figure out with my interior designer and the mill worker and the painter and all the local vendors I'm getting to help me make all the things. And also, when the furniture will come, if that timing is going to work out. And I'm really having to trust that I will know when I need to know. Right now, August 23rd is still the goal. That's still what I'm planning for. But I'm already kind of getting the feeling that I'm going to have to push it at least a week. And obviously, I really want to know as soon as possible when the opening date is going to be, because I have to plan and prepare mentally and also emotionally and strategically. But I'm learning that I can't force clarity until it's ready. I can put it out there and say, I want to know when this is going to happen. And so I need these people to tell me their end dates and when they think things will be ready. And then I let it go. I'm really learning to let things go, to do what I need to do to make sure that things are moving forward. I'm getting the support and everything that I need. And then once I've done what I can do, then I need to let it go. And that's been a big lesson for me recently. And just not needing to force things to happen any quicker or more clearly or in any way at all than the way that they are happening. And really being at peace with the present moment. So yes, I announced the space opening and I'm so excited about it. And obviously that's been such a huge part of the craziness of my month. I've just been meeting with different people and planning everything. There's so much that goes into this. Obviously, the setting up of it, but also the planning for the offers. And I'm making a new website. And so I'm writing all the content for that. And I'm just really looking forward to when I don't have to worry about putting the space together and all these tasks you have to do for the first time to get it ready. And looking forward to the moment when I'm just in the flow of structuring the offers and getting creative with the ceremonies and all that kind of stuff. And I can fully pour my energy and intention and attention into that. But right now there's so many other moving parts as well. So it's just a lot. But I'm really excited about it. And also, after you've listened to this, I will have announced and shared my new branding, which I've been working on very much for months now behind the scenes with the most amazing brand designers. But I won't go into that too much here because I'm going to have them on the podcast. It's two women who I've been working with who could not love more, Ellen and Michelle. So stay tuned for that podcast coming in a couple months. But I'm sharing the branding. And then, like I said, I'm about to start working with someone to help with a new website. Another amazing gem that I found who I can't wait to dive into that work with. And both of these people have been referrals to me by my business mentor, Xanthi, who I really have to highlight her this month because I've been working with her since August or September of last year, I want to say, and which is crazy. But I feel like especially the last few months, relationships develop over time. And the way Xanthi and I work together is we do have Zoom meetings occasionally, but the majority of our work is done over voice note. And I'm voice noting her like every single day. Just so all my thoughts, all my worries, all strategy stuff, content stuff, anything about business. And, business is so interconnected to life, especially in the work that both she and I do. And so we're talking about so many different things. And she has been so supportive to me this month, especially. I mean, every month, but I think this month especially because there have been times when it's felt really overwhelming and scary, and I've had moments of disappointment and frustration, and that is not unique to this month at all. But I think the pressure has felt extra peaked because the reality of this space coming to fruition is getting closer and closer, and it is the scariest and most raw thing I've ever done, most vulnerable, true intentional desire that I followed. And I've allowed myself to be vulnerable with Xanthi and to get emotional and to show her my frustration and to not need to be, perfect and show that I have it all together because she's the one who's supposed to help me have it all together. You know what I mean? And she's met me there without even hesitation, no judgment. And it's been so important to me to have someone who not only helps me get my shit together, but also meets me in my mess and sees me in my mess and knows that doesn't take away from what I have to give to the world. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is I used to think that if I show my imperfections, if I show my mess, my emotion, my not knowingness, if I show that I think I'm not enough, it'll prove that it will show people that I'm not enough. And it will undermine the work that I do. And also, it will show people too much of me. There's definitely this part of me that's always wanted to kind of hold back, be a little bit mysterious. And I don't want to do that anymore. One thing I've really learned recently is I don't want to be picture perfect. I don't want to put on any airs or facades or try to be anything other than what I am. And that is one reason I'm also I decided to do this podcast right now, even though I was like, I should shower first. I should, work through my morning voice and my morning face, and I should get myself together because I use video now, or maybe I shouldn't use video for this podcast, but I actually don't care about those things, and I think it's people you can see on social media, people, especially very big podcasts, they have their whole podcast studio and they put on their hair and makeup and have their clothes. And I think that's beautiful and amazing. And I was listening actually to a podcast yesterday where two girls were chatting and they were like, I just love getting ready for the day. Like, I love putting on my makeup. I love picking out my outfit. And their excitement was so palpable. And I love that for them. And I feel that way. Like, I love getting dressed up and, putting on my jewelry. And there is something sacred to like adorning your body. And I do love that sometimes, although I really can't remember that I don't like wearing makeup, but that's everyone's got their things. But I love that when I'm in the mood for it, because it's what I want to do for myself, not for other people. Not because I think I'm supposed to, or it will get better views, or people will judge, or it's unprofessional, or X, Y, and Z if I don't. I woke up, I wanted to record this podcast, and I genuinely, if I take away the conditioned beliefs that I have been taught, do not care about that. And maybe I'll think differently when I'm watching this video back and editing it, or I see it on YouTube. But the truth is, like, I want to practice not caring. I want to lean into that and trust that, and also trust the fact that I woke up inspired to record this episode now. Because I'm also really working on not needing to stick to my usual schedule, my usual strict, rigid routine, and really aligning with my intuition and allowing it to guide me, like I was saying earlier. And I've been waking up with a lot of creative energy in the morning. And so instead of saying, no, I had scheduled this writing time or this task to later in the day, I've been waking up and at 5 a.m. writing and publishing a Substack and really honoring that. And it's felt so good. And I want to do that here too, because another big lesson that has hit home for me this month is I do not want to care about things I don't care about. I don't want to care about the shoulds. I don't want to care about the superficial, layers that we pile on things to keep up appearances or, show up in the world the way we think we're supposed to. I don't want to care about what other people are doing. I don't want to get caught up in petty gossip or judgments or anything like that. I want to stay so connected to my heart, so heart-led, so heart-centered, and keep my blinders on to the rest of it. That doesn't mean to be naive at all or to not care about other people. It means to stay so clear on what my path and purpose is right now in this present moment, and to care about the things that I genuinely care about, and to pour my energy and attention into the things that I feel I'm meant to. And so another thing that has come up recently for me this month is getting caught up in all the things happening around me in the spiritual space, or in the same space that my business is in, because I'm very lucky to live in an area where there's a lot of offerings around, a lot of people in this same realm who have similar interests. And as I'm opening my in-person space and kind of taking stock and getting to know the community in the area around me, not in High Falls or very close, like the other surrounding little hamlets near me, but in other areas 20, 30 minutes away, and just in the general vicinity, the general community, because everyone kind of intermingles together. There are, a lot of people holding moon circles or yoga classes, or who are herbalists, and even if they're not doing the specific things that I'm doing. It's all in the same realm. And that can feel overwhelming. And I've felt some scarcity mindset or comparison, competition energy coming in towards me. And it brings up fear in me of, am I going to have to fight for a space here? Am I going to have to prove myself? And I already always feel like I have to prove my worth, prove I'm enough, prove that I'm doing enough. And I've really landed on the fact that there's enough space for everyone. When I look around and I see other people doing their work from a heart-led, intentional place, I'm filled with so much joy, genuinely. I do get frustrated or sad, I guess, when I see people not leading from that space, but that's a whole other topic. But when I tune into the people who I see around me doing similar things, and I feel that anxiety popping up, I've been sitting with it and feeling, no, I actually don't want these things to go away. Like, I want everyone to succeed because they're doing something wildly different than me, actually. Even if on the surface there's similarities, they are completely different people than me, and they're following their heart, their gifts, their power, their purpose, their path, and so they're meant to be doing what they're doing, and I want them genuinely to succeed. And I want to know them. I want to work with them. I want to see if maybe there are ways we can collaborate and connect and get to know each other. And I am confident that I am also following my heart, my purpose, my path, my intentions, my intuition. You can see which words I'm like really loving right now. And I trust myself. I trust my path. I trust my gifts. I trust I am good enough. And yeah, it might take some time for me to be known and for people to know why they should come to my space and take that time and energy and resources to show up there. But I'm confident and I'm just following myself. And again, I'm putting my blinders on. Ooh, knocked my mic over. I'm also going to try not to edit this, so that's going to stay in here. I'm putting my blinders on, and I have started to connect with some amazing local businesses, whether it's to source things for my space or collaborate on events. And those are the businesses and the people that I want to focus on, because those are the ones I'm forming relationships with. Those are the ones who have felt reciprocal and like they also are interested and excited about what I'm doing. And so those are the ones I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on the people who I am feeling some competition or scarcity mindset or any type of energy from. I don't want to focus on the people who I reached out to and I haven't heard from, unless I intuitively feel the pull to reach out to them again. I don't need to focus on that. And so staying really focused on the people who have supported me and who I want to support. And again, reciprocity, reciprocal energy, reciprocal relationships has been so important to me recently. And it has been in my life for a while, but it's gotten even more and more important. And I think especially because I'm having to do so many reach outs for work, which in the past was so hard for me. And I'm really pushing past that, not being afraid to be rejected or for people to judge or misunderstand or never respond. That's honestly the biggest one. Most people, if they respond, it's positive, or I just don't hear a response at all. But I've been having to put myself out there so much in so many different ways, and it's exhausting. And a lot of the times I don't get a response. And so it's even more important to me now that in the relationships that I do move forward with, once I've put out that initial call, it's then reciprocal. it's then met and matched. And I even had a conversation recently with one of my best friends who visited me recently. I'll get to that in a second, but she can sometimes be hard to keep in touch with over text. She lives in Chicago and she's my best friend from college. I love her so immensely, but she can sometimes be hard to reach out to keep in touch with. And I just said to her, I want to talk to you whenever you're available, but just know if you don't hear from me, it's only because I can't do more reach outs. I can't be sending more messages without knowing when people are going to respond. So I'm here, I'm ready when you have the time and space, but just know that that's why you're not hearing from me, not because I'm not thinking of you. And I'm so grateful I have that relationship with her. And honestly, that I set those relationships, I set those expectations and that kind of communication with all relationships I get into, because she met that so heart open, so graciously, and was like, I hear you, I get it. And it only strengthens our relationship. It only allows us to understand where we're both at more deeply and support each other more concretely. So, reciprocal relationships in all areas of life, that is paramount for me right now. And speaking of, since I'm on the topic of this best friend, she and her partner came in. They were visiting New York for a couple of days, and they were in the city mostly, but they took the bus down the last weekend, so a couple weekends ago, to spend the day with me on Saturday. And oh my God, it was everything I needed and more. It was so nourishing. It was so healing. And I haven't seen this friend in 3 years, when she last visited me when I was living in California. And I've never met her partner in person, although I've met them over FaceTime. And they've been together for quite some time. And so it was just so special to be in person with a deep soul friend and people who really, again, want to support you, see you, care for you, encourage you, and to just be present with them. I got to show them my space and my home and spend time with Theo, and we went hiking and spent time at a lake and played frisbee and had a picnic, and it was just a perfect summer day. Honestly, it couldn't be any more perfect. And unfortunately, it was only for a day, and then I had to drop them back off at the bus stop and they went on their way. But it just made me so grateful for the deep relationships in my life and the ones that show up for me and that I'm committed to continuing to show up for. And it made me want to have one of those days with all of my people, because a lot of my dearest, closest friends I haven't seen in years, and are all over the world. And I keep in touch with them. A lot of them I voice note quite regularly, if not daily, weekly, or monthly. And I miss them so much. It made me feel like, okay, I need a day like this with every single one of those people. Hopefully soon. But yeah, it also just reminded me to be so grateful for being present with people, and also reminded me that there's just nothing that compares or competes with in-person connections. Yes, social media is amazing. Doing things online has become almost as good in a lot of ways, and voice notes save my life and save my relationships, but nothing will ever, ever, ever compete with in-person time and just being in each other's energies, because there's really no way that you can replicate being in the energy of someone that you really love in person. And it is another encouragement in my desire to open this physical in-person space, because I've had people say to me, whether they knew I was opening the space or not, that, everything's going online. What's the point of opening a space? It's never going to work out, blah, blah, blah. And I really don't believe that. I believe more and more of us are coming back to the truth that we want in-person connection. And especially moving someplace very local based and seasonal and small town vibes, I want that more than anything. I want to create that for myself, I want to create a community that nurtures that and fosters that and supports that. And I really do believe it's what we need now more than ever to counteract all the AI and craziness happening in the world. We need these in-person communities and these present moments together in each other's energy. We need these ceremonies. We need to sit in ceremony with each other in person. I believe that so much, so much, which also brings me to the peak point of this month, which was the ceremony I held yesterday with a wonderful astrologer, Hollis, who was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. And I was also on her podcast, and we were also introduced by Xanthi. And Hollis and I had never met in person up until this ceremony that we held. And it immediately felt natural and just so perfect. I think we get along very well because for a lot of reasons, but we're both in this balance. And I'm curious, I've never talked about this with Hollis, but I feel we have this balance of structure and routine and also intuition and flow. And both of those things are really important to us. And so when we were working together, I felt that within both of us. We were both organized and prepared and grounded. And also like, yeah, it'll work out. I trust. We don't need to have it all planned right now. And it just came together so seamlessly. And we also just supported each other throughout each of our individual offerings to the ceremony really well. And I'm just so grateful for that. And the ceremony was really something so special. So special. It was the most intimate one I've held so far, and it also was the one that I could show up for the most personally. Usually when I'm holding these ceremonies, we do a lot of journaling and reflecting and sharing, and I am not able to share myself, but with this one I was, and that felt really special as well. And we also did a tea ceremony, and this is something I'll go into in a future podcast more, but also in June, I was connected to a potter, ceramicist, who specializes in tea ceremony bowls, and he's really dedicated his life to making tea ceremony bowls. And I went up to his studio about an hour from me, and we spent like 2 hours together in his studio in the woods, just talking and chatting, and him sharing about his experiences and the different bowls he makes. And it turns out that he's sat in ceremony with my tea teacher, and he provides the bowls that she sells on her website. And I'm trying to get him on the podcast, so stay tuned. But that was so special to talk to someone who also understands the magic of tea and who really reveres the simplicity of life and connecting to nature. And so I was able to get really, really, really special tea ceremony bowls from him. And I used them in our new moon ceremony. For the first time, it was our initiatory ceremony. And so that felt really special too, to do that with this group. And again, it reminded me of how important it is to sit in ceremony with people, and that you never know the people you're going to attract, but just showing up as you and following and trusting your path and your intuition will lead you to the right people. Because I was able to sit in that circle and be like, I am so grateful for these specific people in this circle right now. And yes, of course, Hollis and I held the space, held the energy, but the ceremony was what it was because of each person who came and how our energies intermingled. And it was just so nourishing. And speaking of nourishing, those were two of the main themes we talked about in the ceremony, was abundance and nourishment, and what that means to us, and what depletes us and disconnects us from nourishment and abundance. And for me, I realized that nourishment is safety, and abundance is freedom. And abundance is around us all the time, whether we are tapping into it or not. There is always abundance. Nature is so abundant. Our life, our world, our universe is so abundant. But if I'm not nourished, I can't tap into that abundance. And in fact, then it's often that we fall into the abundance of scarcity and getting so caught up in the abundance of things going wrong. But when I am nourished, when I nourish myself, when I provide myself that foundational support of caring for my body, of slowing down, of being really present, of doing whatever it is that nourishes me inside and out, then I can tap into abundance. And then I am free to just flow in that abundance. Then I can trust that life is working out for me because I see the abundance around me. And I've really noticed that this month, especially this month, because life has been so crazy and abundant with things going on. I can't tap into that, and those things automatically start to feel overwhelming and hold a more negative energy, for lack of a better word, if I'm not nourished. But when I prioritize the things that nourish me, namely my rituals, then those same things feel so joyfully abundant, and I notice even more abundance around me. And really being aware not to deplete myself, not to disconnect myself. Again, not really from what I'm doing, but from how I'm doing it, and from prioritizing those in-between moments and the spacious moments. Oh, which also brings me to another thing I announced this month, which is this new Substack series that I'm doing called Make Space for Ritual. And it's about how I am prioritizing making space in my life while I make this space in real life for Intuitively Wild. Because, like I said, it's overwhelming. There's a lot going on. And so in order to show up the way that I want to and the way that I support others in doing, namely intentionally and intuitively, I need to do that for myself and intentionally and intuitively. And so this series is documenting that, how I am continuing to show up intentionally and intuitively and make space for that while building the space, while in this crazy season of my life. So it's really a challenge for me because I'm doing it weekly, which that's not the challenge. I'm used to putting things out all the time, but I'm doing it in the moment. Usually I prepare things in advance, at least to a degree, but this is, I write it kind of throughout the week, but really I need to do it at the end of the week because it's about how I made space that week, and then it comes out Monday. And I've only written the first one so far. This will be the second week, and it's definitely a challenge because I feel that pressure of like, oh, I need to get things done. Oh, I know this is on my to-do list. But I'm really wanting to do it. I'm really challenging myself with that because it feels good to also share in this more off-the-cuff, raw blog type style. And not only to share all my thoughts, but also to share the song that I listened to this week that really kept me going, and the incense I lit, and the quote I heard that made me laugh, and the moment that I had to just sit on my floor and breathe, and to share that really kind of in that moment versus reflecting on it. And it comes from a very reflected, processed place. I'm definitely not sharing from a triggered, responsive, reactive place, but it also is coming from this present place. This is what is happening right now, and this is how I'm moving through it right now, and this is what I'm feeling right now. And that feels important for me in this season of my life. And so that is another thing that I'm doing right now. For all of July and August, my intention right now is to do it at least up until I launch the space. Once the space opens, I don't want to put the pressure on myself to write something so in the moment in case, my schedule. I'll have to see my capacity once I'm in the flow and the schedule of being at the space. But I've been really excited about this series. I've been planning it for a very long time. And it was another thing where I knew I had to wait once I knew when I was announcing the space. And also I kept not having clarity. Like I knew I wanted to do a series like this, but I couldn't figure out exactly what it would look like, or there were so many pieces missing. I was getting so frustrated about that. But then finally, once I just started doing it, it all clicked into place and it just came again naturally. And I noticed that the pieces had been slowly falling into place over time. So if I had tried to do it earlier, I wouldn't have been ready, even though I thought I had to do it earlier. So again, trusting, which is another thing I want to say, which is that because I've been working towards different goals for so long, I've been doing things along the way that I didn't even know why I was doing them. Or like I was working on something, say like this group program, and then other ideas came or other things came up and I kind of put it to the side. But now I'm like, oh my God, I have so many things ready and in place for what I'm doing now because of all the preparing I did before that I didn't even know why I was doing it. So again, just trust your timing. But going back to the nourishment of the abundance and the depletion and disconnection, making space for that, making space for me to feel fully nourished and alive in this season of my life, because this is a really exciting season and I can easily get lost in the fear and the overwhelm and the anxiety of how things are going to work out. Or I can really lean into the joy and the excitement and the hope and the trust. And that is what I want to do more than anything. And setting my intention and grounding into that for July feels really important, which leads us to our intentions for July. July is going to be a very busy month for me. More ceremonies that I'm holding and I will be announcing very soon. And so if you want, either linked below or head over to my website or Instagram to see the announcement about the July ceremony, which I am so very excited about. And I just hope that I can sit in ceremony with you this month. But so I'm playing the July ceremonies. I'm obviously doing all the things for the space. That's the biggest thing for me. And also all the other things that I've got going on in my business. And then also I'm taking a trip to Massachusetts with my parents for July 4th weekend. And then I'm taking a little solo trip up to Maine. And I will either do a whole podcast on that later in the month, or it will be a key part of next month's reflections and intentions, because that trip is going to be a big one for me personally that I'm really looking forward to. But again, more on that soon. But again, I'm going to be a little all over the place. And so being extra intentional and grounded in my intentions is so important. So okay, so I actually wrote this and got to this through the new moon summer solstice ceremony that I held. So again, speaks to the process of ceremony, and always at the end of my ceremonies, I always like to help people gain this clarity on an intention. And so for me, I'm setting this intention at least until August 1st. And then we'll circle back. So my intention for the month is, and I got to this statement through a lot of journaling and processing, and I like to write my intentions present tense in one succinct statement because it really allows me to latch onto it for the whole season I am connecting to it, so that I have something simple and powerful, impactful to really repeat in my head over and over and remind myself of. Okay, my intention. I trust myself and my intuition with unapologetic confidence and heart-led courage. And also with each intention, I like to help people, and because it really helps me, have one action step, because it's not only our words needing to be aligned with our intentions and our desires and our values, but our actions. So what I came to, I wrote a couple things down, but the crux of it, what I came to is, I want to do one thing with courage and confidence every single day this month that either brings me joy, moves me towards my goals, or pushes me out of my comfort zone. So every single day, one thing that does one of those three things. And I really I landed on that because I don't want to push myself to like go outside my comfort zone and do something big and scary, even if it's small, every day, because that's not what I'm needing right now. Also, what can bring me equal anxiety and fear is doing something simply because it brings me joy. And so that's why I highlighted those three themes. So that's my intention. That's my action step. I'm sticking to it every single day. I'm writing it down, putting it on my to-do list as a top priority, equal to that of whatever else I've got going on for work. And that's something else I want to leave us with this summer, is for us to prioritize spaciousness, nourishment, stillness, silence, simplicity, joy, just as much as we prioritize our to-do list, our socializing, the craziness and chaotic plans of summer, just as much. Prioritize them just as much and get really clear on how you want your summer to feel, who you want to be, how you want to show up, who you want to fill your space with, what activities you want to fill your space with. So if you want help kind of gaining that clarity for yourself, you can refer to the summer solstice ritual episode, or I have a lot of Substacks coming out this month about these topics I'm really excited about. So while Mondays will be in the moment present, this Substack series of Making Space, Fridays are ones that I have just written about whatever. And I've been writing a lot the last few weeks, so a lot of those are already written, and they really do focus on summer. And I guess summer more generally, but even more so they focus on gaining clarity on who you want to be, how you want to show up. And this phase of life that we're all entering in, because I definitely feel like this summer, I feel like there's been a line drawn in the sand, and this summer is us walking the line. And after the summer, we're in a whole new world. So crossing the threshold, if you will. So that's where I'm at right now. I feel like I didn't even touch on half the things I was thinking about talking about, but this is already getting super long. And I'm really grateful I did this now. I will not judge myself. And I'm really grateful for you guys for being here along this journey. It's a very scary and exciting time of my life, and I feel that from everyone I've been talking to. I really encourage you to step outside of your comfort zone and own your desires and follow your path. Allow your intuition and your energy to guide you without needing to understand why. You don't need to know why you're doing what you're doing. You only need to know that you are meant to be doing it. And you don't need to even know that with clarity. There can be so much uncertainty. This is the last thing I'll say. I was talking to someone recently about this and kind of working through this with them, and they were saying, I feel like I land on something, but then immediately I'm not certain about it. And it's so hard for me to have full certainty. And to that I say, especially if you're emotional authority in human design, this is true, but really for most people, there are few things that will be 100% certain about, especially big things, mainly because there has been so much conditioning that has been ingrained into us. So many shoulds, so many right and wrongs. And so it's hard for us to be like, this is actually what I truly want, and to disconnect that from what we've been told to do or what we think we should do. And so even if you might get to that place of connecting to your intuition or feeling like this is what you want, immediately the conditioning can kind of pile on top and try to shift our direction. And there can be other reasons as well. Like if for me, because I'm a manifesting generator with so much going on, sometimes I'm like, I see myself in all these different directions, and my emotional authority takes me on all these different rides. And it's hard for me to be like, I am so certain on this. But that's why we need to disconnect, come back to our center, and have those times to process and be like, when I really tune into what I'm pulled towards, when I really tune into what brings me that instinctual joy, whenever, without overthinking it, when I really just trust, where is that guiding me? And where am I 90% certain I want to go? And if that's hard to build that trust with yourself, start with something small and build your way up. And of course, if you want to talk about this more and need more support, please reach out to me. This is my favorite thing to talk about. And I would really love to hear about your reflections for June, what June held for you, and how you are meeting July. What are your intentions for July through your reflections and your processing, your integration of June, all you learned? What are your intentions for July? I would really love to hear. And I can't wait to make space with you this month. I will see you all very soon. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I hope it helped deepen your connection to yourself, sparked some insights, and inspired you to live intuitively wild. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with others and leave a rating and review. And please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. I will see you next time for more magic.